everyone, welcome back to the channel Yuki.asthetic. Okay, now this is the first video for the biology course. Now in this month we will complete 5 chapters, which is first one is cell, the basic unit of life, cell cycle and cell division, breathing, excretory products, and body fluids and circulation. Okay, now talking about all this biology course is for NEET and DS. In this course we will talk about NCERT, the important questions and the questions from NCERT which I have derived from. All the notes will be available on Telegram channel after the completion of the chapter. And yes, that's it. Let's start the video. Assalamualaikum and welcome to the channel. Okay, now ये वाली वीडियो पूरी सेल द यूनिट ऑफ लाइफ, ये फर्स्ट चैप्टर है. ये वाले मंथ में वी आर गोइंग टू कवर 5 chapters. In those 5 chapters from biology, this is the first chapter. Now starting off, okay, this chapter does have all completely 5 topics. In those 5 topics, in this lecture we are going to cover 2 of them, which is what is cell and the cell theory. Okay, now cell, the unit of life. First let us see what is living and non-living thing. Okay, living organisms और non-living things में ऐसा क्या है जिसकी वजह से living organisms जो है अलग है. तो what makes an organism living is the basic unit of life, which is cell. Now the basic unit of life, the cell. Now cell or all organisms which are living are composed of cells. There is no exception in this point. Okay, now based on presence of cell is divided into 2 groups. Okay, unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. By the name itself we can guess it. जो यूनिसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स रहते हैं उसमें एक सिंगल सेल रहता है और जो मल्टीसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स रहते हैं उसमें मोर देन 1 सेल रहता है. ओके, नाउ दीज लेक्चर्स आर completely based on NCERT and it is for NEET. Okay, now coming on to the next topic, which is what is cell. Okay, now अब एक सेल में देखो सबसे छोटा वाला एक सेल अपन किसको बोल रहे हैं? यूनिसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिज्म इज अ complete organism which consists of 1 cell. तो अपन लगा एक बहुत छोटे पैमाने पे देखें तो we will see about unicellular organism. Okay, now see unicellular organism. Now a unicellular organism does 2 things. Okay, it's capable of doing 2 things. First is its independent existence. Independent existence. And the second thing of this is performing the essential functions of life. Okay, now anything less than a complete structure of a cell does not ensure independent living. Okay, अगर एक सेल का पूरे complete स्ट्रक्चर में से कोई भी चीज़ कम रही तो उस चीज़ को एक इंडिपेंडेंट सेल नहीं बोल सकते अपन, या फिर एक इंडिपेंडेंट लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म इंश्योर नहीं कर सकते. ओके, so anything less than a complete structure of a cell does not ensure independent living. Anything less than a complete structure of cell does not ensure living. Okay. Hence, cell is the fundamental, structural and functional unit of all living organism. बस इसीलिए सेल क्या है? फंडामेंटल, structural and functional unit of life. Unit of all living organism. Okay, LO is the short form of living organisms. You can understand it, of course. Now, एक बार फिर से रिवाइज करेंगे अपन. Unicellular organisms are capable of independent existence and performing the essential functions of life. Independent existence के का मतलब ऐसा है कि without any other cell doing other functions, like एक सेल completely functions, अपने पूरे functions अपने आप कर रहा है, जैसे कि खा रहा खुद, डाइजेस्ट खुद कर रहा है, एक्सक्रीट खुद कर रहा है, and everything that cell is doing by itself. Okay, and living independently, that is their independent existence. And in the second point, performing the essential functions of life is nothing but digestion, excretion and all those other things. Okay, now anything less than a complete structure of cell. Okay, now for explaining this point, let's move on to the next paragraph, which is Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the first to saw and describe a living cell. Okay, dead cell तो डेड सेल की बात नहीं चल रही इधर, टॉकिंग अबाउट द लिविंग सेल. ओके, रॉबर्ट हुक वाज द फर्स्ट वन टू डिस्क्राइब द डेड क्रॉक सेल्स एंड एक्चुअली ऑब्जर्व द सेल वॉल. ओके, बट नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट, अब ये वाले चैप्टर में सिर्फ दो जनों का नाम है, विच इज एंटोन वन लेeuwenhoek एंड द सेकेंड वन इज Robert Brown. If you want to write, you can write in your notes that also, but I am just continuing with the Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Okay, first to saw and describe. Describe living cell. Okay, now Robert Brown. Robert Brown, yes. Robert Brown was the one who discovered the nucleus. Now, the invention of the microscope and its improvement. मतलब after the invention of microscope. माइक्रोस्कोप के इन्वेंशन के बाद ये जो माइक्रोस्कोप का इन्वेंशन हुआ था, उसके बाद इसका इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ, राइट. उसके इम्प्रूवमेंट के बाद इलेक्ट्रॉन माइक्रोस्कोप जो है वो आया. Microscope. Now, through this electron microscope, we were able to reveal all the structural details of the cell. इसकी वजह से पूरे structural details मालूम हुए. Details of cell. Okay, now saying this ST is the full form or short form of structure or structural, anything related to structure. Okay, now I am writing two ज़्यादा like abbreviated forms because your notes should be short and full of information, that's why. Okay, now एक बार फिर से रिवाइज करेंगे. Yes, unicellular organisms. Okay, moving on from anything less than a complete structure of cell. एक पूरे स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ सेल में, अब पूरे स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ सेल में बहुत सारी चीज़ें रहती हैं जैसे कि गोल्जी कॉम्प्लेक्स, सेल, न्यूक्लियस, डीएनए। अगर ये पूरे चीज़ों में से कोई एक चीज़ कम रही जो कि इम्पॉर्टेंट है, मतलब जो एसेंशियल चीज़ है, अगर इसमें से कोई भी एक चीज़ कम रही, फॉर एग्जांपल माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया एंड और एनीथिंग एल्स, तो वो एक लिविंग सेल, एक लिविंग चीज़ या लिविंग सेल आइडेंटिफाइड नहीं करा जा सकता. ओके, दैट वाज द मीनिंग ऑफ दैट लाइन. And yes, Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the first to saw and describe living cell, and the one who saw dead cell was Robert Hooke. Okay, he actually observed the cell wall. He did not saw a complete cell. He actually observed the cell wall. Robert Hooke was the one who saw the dead cork cells. Okay, now that you all of you just write that one in your notebooks. I'm not writing it in this, or else if you मतलब आपको याद है तो no need to write on that. Okay, now moving on to the second topic of today's chapter, which is cell theory. Now देखो, हर चीज़ को अपन लगा इतना अपन लोग पढ़ लिया ना, it is all derived from NCERT. Okay, now you just इन सबको एक के बाद एक अच्छे से याद करने की कोशिश करो आप लोग. Now second one is, what is cell? Oh, sorry, cell theory. Now talking about cell theory. अब ये cell theory को अच्छे से कान खोल के सुनो. Okay. Now in 1838 मैथियास क्लेडन. अब इसमें देखिए 3 साइंटिस्ट का नाम आता. ओके, मैथियास क्लेडन, श्वान, एंड थर्ड वन विल बी रुडोल्फ विर्चो. ओके, नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट फर्स्ट जो मेन दो है. ओके, दो साइंटिस्ट, इम्पोर्टेंट साइंटिस्ट है, वो है मैथियास क्लेडन एंड थियोडोर विर्चो. Theodore Schwann, sorry. Now talking about the first scientist. Okay, write it down here. Now Matthias Kleiden is a German botanist. Okay, and in the year 1838. Okay, now अब ये 1838 याद रखना ज़रूरी है. अब ये वाले चीज़ को कैसे याद करेंगे आप लोग? सो पहले 18 को तो याद रखना ही पड़ता है ऑफ कोर्स. नाउ 18 के रिलेटेड 8 का 8 यहाँ पे और 8 का हाफ विल बी 3. ओके, नाउ देखो 8 का हाफ विल बी 3. Not in the sense of dividing, in the sense of just putting a line in between 8, it will be 3. So 1838. And in the next scientist Matthias Kleiden 1838 में. Okay, क्या करे? He just studied about the plants, examined a large number of plants. Large number of plants. Okay, now इसमें उनको क्या देखा? And observed all the plants are composed of different, and observed all plants are composed of different kinds of cells which form a tissue of the plant, which forms tissues of plants. Okay, now see here, Matthias Claden was a German botanist. Okay, उन्होंने large number of plants का examine करे. Okay, examining is nothing but just researching on them. Okay, and he observed that all of the plants are composed of different kinds of cells. अब cells forms tissues of the plants. You know, all cells combine to form a tissue. Okay, now moving on to the next scientist is Theodor Virchow. Theodor Schwann. Sorry, I said Virchow there. It's Theodor Schwann. Uh-oh. In 1839, this scientist in 1839, see 1838 and 1839, reported that he was a British zoologist. Okay, he was a British zoologist. He studied different types of animal cells. And reported, क्या रिपोर्ट करें? Reported that cells had a thin layer. जो cells थे animal cells, उसमें एक thin layer थी, thin outer layer थी, outer layer थी. Okay, this thin outer layer which is today known as plasma membrane. Today known as, okay, ATK is nothing but today known as plasma membrane. Plasma membrane. Okay, now he also concluded based on his studies on plant tissues. और अब देखो है ना, यहाँ पे ना दो चीज़ों पे स्टडी करे. एक तो है डिफरेंट एनिमल सेल्स, और एक स्टडी किस पे करे थे उन्होंने? ही ऑब्जर्व्ड सम प्लांट्स. ही स्टडीड प्लांट्स. के प्लांट्स को भी स्टडी करे थे ना. और क्या बोले कि जो tissues that the plant tissues, that the presence of cell wall is a unique character in plant cells. Okay, plant cells में presence of cell wall. Cell wall was unique character. Okay, it was a unique now cell wall was a unique character of plants. That's it. Now Schwann proposed the hypothesis. Now इधर देखो. Now Matthias Claden 1838 में एक जर्मन बॉटनिस्ट थे. उन्होंने एग्जामाइन करे प्लांट्स पे और ऑब्जर्व करे कि पूरे प्लांट्स जो है वो कंपोज्ड है डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ सेल्स में. ओके, डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ सेल्स से प्लांट्स बने हुए हैं और वो जो सेल्स है मिलकर एक टिश्यू बनाते प्लांट का. ओके, नाउ हियर नेक्स्ट ईयर 1838 में मैथियास क्लेडन ये स्टडी करे थे और 1839 में थियोडोर श्वान जो है, जो कि एक ब्रिटिश जूलॉजिस्ट थे. अब इन दोनों पे भी स्टडी करे, एनिमल सेल्स पे भी और प्लांट्स पे भी. तो एनिमल सेल्स पे जो स्टडी करे थे उन्होंने रिपोर्ट करे कि सेल्स ऑफ एनिमल्स जो थे उनके ऊपर एक थिन आउटर लेयर थी. ओके, नाउ दिस थिन आउटर लेयर टुडे इज नोन एज प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन. ओके, नाउ प्लांट्स में जो सेल वॉल, प्रेजेंस ऑफ सेल वॉल जो है वो यूनिक कैरेक्टर है, क्योंकि सेल वॉल इज नॉट प्रेजेंट इन एनिमल सेल्स एज यू ऑल नो. ओके, नाउ मूविंग ऑन, एक हाइपोथेसिस थी, कौन श्वान हाइपोथेसिस थी दोनों की स्टडीज से. अब ये जो दो भी साइंटिस्ट थे ना, उन लोगों की स्टडीज से एक हाइपोथेसिस थी. ओके, लेट मी राइट डाउन हाइपोथेसिस. Now, hypothesis is nothing but not confirming but just assuming. It is about to confirm. Okay, श्वान प्रपोज करे. कौन करे थे? ये वाले साइंटिस्ट जिसका नाम था श्वान. Now, I don't know the exact pronunciation, but फिर भी श्वान proposed the hypothesis that the bodies of animals and plants are composed of cells and products of cells. He proposed that bodies of animal and plant cells, animals and plants are composed of cells and products of cells. Okay. Now, एक और चीज़ अच्छे से याद रखो कि हाइपोथेसिस वाज गिवन बाय श्वान. इफ क्वेश्चन में अगर आया कि हु गेव द हाइपोथेसिस अबाउट bodies of animals and plants are composed of cells and products of cells, there will be 3 scientists: Schwann, Schleiden and Virchow. Okay, you need to correct the Schwann. Okay, you need to answer the Schwann one. Okay, Theodor Schwann was the one who gave the hypothesis. Okay, now moving on, then after the hypothesis was created, Schleiden and Schwann together formulated the cell theory. Okay, now this is important. The cell theory was formulated. Cell theory was together formulated this cell theory. Together formulated by Schwann and Schleiden. Schleiden and Schwann. Okay, now moving on. However, ये वाली पूरी थीसिस में ये जो बट ये दोनों फेल हो गए. Schleiden and Schwann ये एक्सप्लेन नहीं करे कि सेल्स आते कहाँ से. ओके, सेल्स वेयर फ्रॉम, हाउ new cells were formed. Okay, now to this, for explaining this, Rudolf Virchow अपनी आगे की कहानी में आया. Okay, now taking the next page, Rudolf Virchow. Now, Rudolf Virchow was the first who explained the cell division. Okay, now in 1855, now this year is also too important. 1855 में Rudolf Virchow जो है क्या बोले? Rudolf Virchow said that cell division को explain कर रहा हूँ. He said that first explained that cell divide and form new cells. Okay, cell divide and form new cells. Now, he also said that formed from cells, new cells are formed from new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. Pre-existing cells. Or in his language, in the Latin word, he said omnis cellula, omnis, oh sorry, omnis cellula, e cellula, which means pre-existing cells forms new cells. Okay, omnis cellula, e cellula. He modified the hypothesis of Sladen and Schwann. One more point to he modified their cell theory. Modified the hypothesis of Sladen and Schwann. Okay, and another thing, cell theory as understood today. Now it is the important thing. Cell theory understood today is first one, all living organisms are composed of cells. Easy, composed of cells and products of cells. And the next one is that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. In the next class, we will see the NCERT notes and lecture as well as some questions. Thank you everyone.